Hi, I'm Jo Flanagan, the team manager of SUBS, which is the Young Persons Drug and Alcohol team for Wolverhampton. We're working with young people aged from 11 up to around 18, and then we work with our adult colleagues dependent on a young person's age and the best care package for them.
We work with young people and their families who decide to enter treatment to help them with their substance use, often at the point where they start to realise that their substance use has become problematic for one reason or another.
The first drug I used was cannabis, and that was when I was about 13, and then I experimented a little bit with ecstasy and speed. My drug that I had an issue with was heroin, and that started when I was about 14.
Everybody else is doing it, you don't want to be the odd one out, so you kind of do it to keep in with everybody else, and then it spirals out of control. I started using cannabis around my friends, because they were doing it, and they were older than me. It was the cool thing to do.
We differ enormously to the adult drug service in many, many ways. Just our whole approach, the flexibility, it's far more relaxed. We have to give and take a lot more. It's difficult to compare because we are the only one around here.
Basically, we look at a young person's need. The main focus of our work is to alleviate harm. I'll use some examples. If a young person's smoking cannabis in school, then our main aim is to keep that young person in school. So we would work with a school at encouraging the young person to go to school and look at the boundaries around their cannabis use, so it's harm reduction philosophy.
You're that paranoid, you think everybody, you think the whole entire world is against you and everybody's out to get you, and that everything that somebody does, if you see a negative thing in it, you're convinced that it's because they're after you.
Initially, we would, encourage the young person not to smoke cannabis on the way to school or whilst at school. So for some people it may sound like we're promoting drug use, but what we're not, we're being realistic about how you can work with people changing their behaviours.
I suppose the realisation for me when it was a real problem was when I had to go to court. And then that's when I thought, well, I need to do something about it.
Once you've started, and once you've had that one too many, it's hard to get out of it, and once it's got a grip of you, it's really hard to get off you.
It's a confidential service. I think there's a huge taboo, obviously, around drugs. A lot of young people who actually find it difficult to talk to adults who haven't got role models that perhaps they feel they can rely on. So they come to us. We're a confidential service. We work very closely with their guardians or parents if needs be. If not, we try and work around that. We wouldn't disengage somebody.
We're perhaps slightly different from adult services in our flexibility, in the fact that we're probably a bit more crisis response, but that's because we're really a focus around child protection as well, so which is different from adult treatment services, and how adult services perhaps can give adults a little bit more free choice.
How long had you been on? How long had you been on your Subutex before that?
Out of all of it, or just on that one script?
On this current script that we've got now?
I think it's about 2 weeks.
For about 2 weeks. Okay, no problems there, no side effects, no working for you? It was working for you okay? Yeah. Okay. So let's have a look at the script, because obviously the doctor was happy to redo your script without seeing you.
We operate from 8 community venues across the city of Wolverhampton. So we work in a variety of locations: community centres, youth centres, pupil referral units, the youth offending team. So it's mainly by referral basis. But if a young person dropped into this drop-in centre, then the details would be taken and passed on to us. So there's an open access element that they could refer themselves.
One down and I go up to the eye.
No, that's right. Look, I'm not reading it properly.
That's a 1 day.
That's a 1 day script, so that's today, the 28th, so you've got your 4 milligrams today, and then from tomorrow, the 29th, you will go up to 8 milligrams, okay? And then that will take you up to the 3rd, okay? And then your script will be redone. All right, mate. Are you happy with that? Yeah. Obviously, if we just, if I can just take a swab, put my gloves on. You hate this bit, I know, it tastes horrible, doesn't it?
I do.
If we take a swab, just to obviously have to do that whenever we restart anybody. I know it's not very nice. Pop that in your mouth. Thank you.
It's a long time.
Don't worry, just loads of spit.
We're a team that's mixed. We've got a paediatric nurse on the team, drug workers who've got youth work backgrounds, we've got criminal justice workers, and we work from a very youth-focused perspective.
Confidentiality is a huge thing, so that's of utmost importance. We just try gain their confidence, and then we take them down whatever path they would like to go. It's not come to us and suddenly stop their drug use. It's working around why they're using drugs and step by step to reducing rather than a miracle cure.
Majority of young people, I feel, well, they state that they find us very supportive, very flexible, and non-judgmental. We've had we've had thank you cards from parents, we've had wedding invites from children that have been through our service. So we've got some positive feedback.
Once I finished my home detox, that meant I was clean of my methadone, and I wasn't using any illicit drugs at the time, which just gave me a really clear mind to think about what I wanted to do with my life.
If I hadn't gone for the counselling when I had it done, I really think that right now I'd have been locked up and my life would have just been a complete waste.
They refer to us in various different ways, and we have a youth engagement worker that basically sees them when they first come to us, does the initial assessment. She then decides whether they need specialist treatment or whether they just need perhaps a couple of group work sessions. They would be seen by the doctor if that was necessary, and then we'd get them on to substitute prescribing, and we would work to try to basically, for whatever they wanted, but we would try to work to stabilise, maintain and eventually get them off whatever substances are causing them any problems.
Through my own choice, along with the youth offending team, I referred myself to what was at the time Base 25, which is now SUBS. And through them, they got me on a methadone script. I stayed completely clean. I didn't use heroin, as it was enough for me. I know there's some people who use on top because that's their habit, but when I was on methadone, it worked. It kept me feeling stable.
I've seen changes where young people have gone back home, their relationships with their parents have changed. I've seen where young people are successful now as parents. I've seen success in young people sustaining jobs and going back to college. Young people not going back to custody. I don't know, what other successes? I've seen successes in young people talking to us. So again, a range really from sublime to the ridiculous. But we do see successes.
A girl that I worked with for many years who was street working, and she's now working for the women's team. We've had children who have been with us using drugs who have been pregnant, who we've had to involve child protection, and they've come back, they've had the children and they've kept their children, and they've come back with their babies. How's see, Gemma told me you're pregnant. How are you feeling about that?
I don't know. I don't know what I want.
You're not sure yet. How many weeks are you?
Gemma said 8 to 9 weeks.
8 to 9. Okay.
I don't know what I want.
You've got a bit of time to think about it, haven't you? Is Gemma being very...
Yeah, I said to her, I want about a couple of more weeks to think about it. She said, no, not a couple of more weeks, you need a week. The longer you leave it, the harder it's going to be.
Have you got some support? I mean, obviously I know Gemma's supporting you. Have you got other people you can talk to? Did you? What did she say?
That I shouldn't really have it.
Really?
Because the situation I'm in now.
How are you feeling about that? I know it's difficult for you to talk, but...
Is that done?
Probably not. Let's have a try. Squeeze that in as much as you can. There's nothing there. Just get a load in your mouth and just... I know it's difficult. Do you want a drink? No. So at least your mum knows.
The benefits, I would say, I'd hope, will be that we are trying to educate young people in their choices about keeping themselves safe in their lives. We don't just always want to focus on their drug use. You know, we're looking at if you're that out of your head that night, how are you going to get home? You know, are you going to end up in a fight? So we try and look at safety and personal safety. The other benefit then, long term, is around confidence and self-esteem and believing in themselves again.